Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Phoboshades. Tonight, we journey into the Black Hollow Hills, a stretch of haunted wilderness where ancient trees whisper secrets best left buried. These are chilling encounters from remote cabins, places where hikers, travelers, and locals came face to face with the inexplicable voices outside frosted windows, bare footprints where none should exist, locked doors opening in silence, and something watching just beyond the light. Each of these 10 true accounts is a living nightmare pulled from one of the world's most mysterious places. So subscribe if you're new, turn on the bell, and join us as we step together beyond civilization into true terror. Story 1. Winter Break in Black Hollow Hill. I was 21 when my college roommate, Jake, invited me to spend winter break at his family's hunting cabin, tucked deep in Black Hollow Hill. His grandfather built it in the 1940s, far from town, where no neighbors would bother a man who valued solitude. Jake described it as rustic but safe, a perfect escape from finals and sleepless nights. A week away from the world sounded perfect. The cabin lay miles from the nearest paved road, accessible by an old logging trail that twisted through dense woods. We arrived late, snow already falling, the sky pressing low over the trees. It was beautiful in a way, quiet, still, like the world had been paused. But beneath the calm, there was something heavy, something waiting. That first night was everything Jake promised. Firelight, warm food, no noise but the crackle of burning logs. But the second night, I woke at 2 a.m. to something large moving in the woods. It wasn't random. It circled, crashed deliberately through the brush. At one point, something scraped the cabin's back wall hard enough to make the whole structure shudder. Morning brought tracks, big, wrong, distorted like bare human feet, stretched too long. Jake brushed it off, but I saw the worry in his eyes. That night, scratching began beneath the cabin, faint, then louder, then clawing like something trying to dig through the floor. We crawled under with flashlights. No animals, just deep gouges in the wood, fresh, and a neat little pile of bones. Rabbits, squirrels, and things I couldn't name, all cleaned and sorted by size like a display. We didn't talk about it. We didn't go back to bed. By dawn, the decision was made without words. We packed. Outside, fresh tracks circled both trucks, heavy enough to reach frozen ground. My car's wires had been cut clean, sections gone, not chewed, taken. We patched it enough to limp off the hill, and neither of us ever returned. Later, Jake told me his father sold the cabin cheap, no explanation. Black Hollow Hill, he said, wasn't meant to hold families anymore. Story 2. The Inheritance at Black Hollow Hill. I was 26 when my great-uncle Edgar died and left me his cabin, a lonely, crumbling structure deep inside Black Hollow Hill. Locals didn't speak of it directly, just hinted, eyes sliding away, like even mentioning the hollow might invite something listening. The place had been in our family a century, off the grid, no mail, no visitors. When I drove up, the road thinned to little more than a trail, the trees closing in like ribs. When I stepped onto the porch, the world felt different, quiet, like the woods themselves were holding their breath. The first night was calm. The second brought footsteps, slow, steady, pacing across the porch, but no one there. Then came the scraping, nails, long and deliberate, dragging from the bottom of the door to the top, a sound that made my teeth ache. Morning showed no damage, no prints, no explanation. By the third night, there were voices, multiple, muffled at first, then clear. An old woman. He should not be here. This place belongs to us now. A young man. Edgar kept the bargain. This one does not. And then something not quite human. Then we must teach him. The old ways must be respected. They spoke of bargains, of Edgar, of prices. Finally, the old woman again. Follow the path, or face the consequences. Edgar's protection dies with him. Then, silence. That night, scratching came from everywhere at once. The roof, the walls, the windows, dozens of nails tearing at the cabin. The air freezing inside, frost crawling across the glass. The building trembled like something massive was pressing in. And then, a single whisper at the kitchen window. Last warning. Leave now, or join us in the hollow. I left that night. I didn't pack. I didn't turn off the fire. I drove off the mountain and never looked back. The cabin rots now, I imagine. Or worse, it doesn't. Some places you leave behind. Others, you escape. Story 3. The Lost Route Through Black Hollow Hill. I was 32 the first time I set foot in Black Hollow Hill. My team and I weren't ghost hunters or thrill chasers. We were historians, chasing down forgotten logging roads. The county maps were old, the area unmarked, and the locals warned us with a quiet that said more than words ever could. They said people wandered in there and didn't always wander back. There were 4 of us that morning. We parked at the rusted gate of a road no one had used in decades and started the climb. The woods were oppressive from the first step, tall, tangled, and strangely lifeless. It wasn't peaceful silence. It was a kind that felt intentional, like the entire hill was holding its breath, waiting for something. By mid-afternoon, we found it. Not a road, but a remnant, a cracked foundation, and a leaning stone chimney jutting out of the forest floor. Symbols had been carved deep into the stones, sharp lines and spirals, worn by rain but still visible, still deliberate. We decided to camp there for the night. Around 2 a.m., Laura shook me awake. Her eyes were wide, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. "Someone's walking around us," she whispered. We lay still, listening. The sound was faint, soft steps, dragging slightly, circling slow and steady. It went on for long minutes, then stopped, like whoever, whatever had been there, had decided to wait. By sunrise, Laura's pack was gone. Food, jacket, gear, all of it, like it had been plucked out while she slept inches away. Worse yet, the trail we had climbed no longer existed. The hill had rearranged itself. Where there had been a narrow path through the brush, there was now only untouched growth, thick and tangled, as if no human foot had ever pressed there. By noon, unease turned to quiet panic. The temperature dropped, though the sun burned clear and high. Our shadows stretched wrong, bending, reaching in ways that made no sense. Then we saw the tracks, bare, human-like, but far too long in the toes and set deep in the soil, looping wide circles around our camp. We left without a plan, just a direction, down. We tore through thorns and rocks, moving until the forest finally spat us out onto a cracked service road hours later. We were bleeding, shaking, alive, but whatever was in those woods had let us go, not lost us. 2 weeks later, county workers followed the coordinates we'd recorded. They found no foundation, no chimney, no clearing, just dense forest, undisturbed and overgrown, as if no human had ever camped there. I don't talk about it much now, but when the wind drags low through the trees at night, I sometimes hear it again, the slow, deliberate circle of footsteps, patient, waiting, just beyond the reach of the light. Story 4. The Light Between the Pines. Michael and I were 28 when a shortcut turned into a mistake. We'd just left a wedding and didn't want to take the long bend of the highway. So we tried a service road that cut through Black Hollow Hill. It looked simple enough on a folded paper map, just a straight line over the ridge. The road began as gravel, then thinned to packed dirt, then too little more than two narrow ruts threading through trees that seemed to lean closer with every mile. The deeper we went, the colder it got. The woods didn't sound alive. No crickets, no birds, only the crunch of tires and the low hum of the engine, until, without warning, the engine died. No cough, no grind, just silence. The headlights dimmed like someone had covered them with a thick cloth. We sat there, neither of us speaking, until a faint glow caught our eyes, a soft, yellow light drifting between the trunks ahead. It swayed, slow, careful, like a lantern carried by someone who knew where they were going. The light didn't flicker. It was steady, too steady. Michael leaned over the wheel, whispering, "Somebody's out here." But the woods gave no sound, no footsteps, no rustle, no breath. The light stopped, hung in place for a long moment, then sank low, as if whoever held it had crouched or been pulled down. Michael's hand went to the door handle. I stopped him. I didn't know why, only that every nerve in my body screamed, "Don't." Then came the smell, wet decay, a sweetness rotted past human tolerance, thick enough to make our throats tighten. The lantern started moving again, only now it didn't bob or sway. It glided. It slid sideways between trees without a sound, closer, closer, until it hung no more than 20 feet from the car. And that's when we saw it, a shape behind the glow, just enough to catch pale fingers. Too long and wrong, gripping something invisible. The light blinked out. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. The forest stayed silent, suffocating. Michael turned the key, almost without hope. The car roared awake, like nothing had happened. The headlights were bright again, the dashboard alive. We didn't say a word. We drove until the woods gave way to pavement, and the night felt like night again. Hours later, under the glow of a street lamp, we saw the marks. 4 deep cuts carved through metal from hood to trunk, as if something had slid its claws across the roof while we fled the hill.